There are nights the world never sees, nights where the room is silent, the lights are off, and the only sound is the quiet breaking of a heart that has carried too much for too long. On those nights, strength doesn't look like victory. It looks like survival. It looks like holding your breath so no one hears you cry. It looks like wiping your tears before morning arrives and pretending everything is fine. This is the story of those nights and of the strength that grows inside them. Ayan learned early how to cry quietly, not because he wanted to, but because life taught him that tears were something to hide. In a house where expectations were loud and understanding was scarce, emotions were seen as weakness. Be strong, they said, but no one ever explained what strength really meant. So Ayan learned to swallow his pain during the day and release it only at night. He would lie on his bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every failure, every harsh word, every dream that felt further away than yesterday. His pillow knew his secrets better than anyone else. It absorbed tears that never reached the outside world. By morning, his eyes would be dry, his face calm, his smile practiced. No one noticed how tired his soul had become. Life didn't break him all at once. It chipped away at him slowly. First it was the dream he couldn't reach, no matter how hard he worked. Then the people who promised to stay but quietly left. Then the voice inside his head that grew louder each time he failed, whispering that he wasn't enough. Some nights the pain felt physical, like a weight on his chest. He would curl into himself, hugging his knees, wondering how something invisible could hurt so much. He asked himself questions with no answers. Why is it so hard for me? Why does everyone else seem to move forward while I'm stuck? Why do I feel so alone even when people are around? Those nights didn't come with solutions, they came with tears. And yet every morning Ayan woke up. People think strength is loud, they think it looks like confidence, success, or unbreakable smiles. They don't talk about the strength it takes to get out of bed when your heart feels heavy. They don't talk about the courage it takes to face another day when yesterday nearly crushed you. Ayan went to work. He smiled at people, he laughed when expected. Inside he felt like a cracked cup holding water, still useful, still standing, but always on the edge of spilling. Sometimes he wondered if something was wrong with him. Why couldn't he just move on like everyone said? Why did the nights keep winning? But what Ayan didn't realize was this. Those nights were not defeating him, they were shaping him. One evening after another long day, Ayan sat alone on his bed. The familiar heaviness returned, but this time something was different. Instead of immediately pushing the pain away, he let himself feel it. He didn't fight the tears. He didn't tell himself to be strong. He simply allowed the moment to exist. And in that quiet acceptance, he noticed something strange. The pain didn't disappear, but it softened. For the first time, he understood that crying wasn't proof of weakness. It was proof that he was human, that he had cared deeply, that he had tried. Those tears were not betraying him, they were releasing him. Healing is not dramatic. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or instant happiness. Often it begins with the smallest shifts, tiny changes you almost miss. Ayan started talking to himself differently. When he failed, he didn't immediately attack himself. When he felt tired, he allowed rest without guilt. When sadness came, he didn't rush to bury it. Some nights he still cried, but the crying changed. It wasn't hopeless anymore. It felt like washing wounds instead of reopening them. He began to understand something important. Surviving didn't mean he was weak. It meant he was strong enough to keep going. There is a special kind of strength that grows in the dark. It grows when no one is watching. It grows when applause is absent. It grows when all you have is yourself, and you choose to stay. Ayan realized that every night he had cried himself to sleep, he had still chosen life the next day. Every time he thought he couldn't go on, he did. Every time he felt broken, he still showed up. That was strength, not the kind people post online, the kind no one sees, the kind that saves you. One day, someone asked Ayan, "How are you always so calm?" He almost laughed. They didn't know about the nights, they didn't know about the tears, they didn't know about the battles fought in silence, but Ayan knew. And for the first time, he felt proud, not of success, but of survival. He had walked through storms without shelter, he had carried pain without support, he had learned to breathe through heartbreak, and he was still here. The nights didn't stop completely. Life doesn't work that way, but they no longer defined him. When sadness came, it came as a visitor, not a ruler. When tears fell, they fell without shame. Ayan stopped seeing his emotional depth as a flaw. He began to see it as proof that his heart was alive, sensitive, capable of great love and great resilience. The same heart that broke was the heart that healed. If you are reading this and thinking of your own nights, the ones where you cried quietly, where you felt invisible, where sleep came only after exhaustion, know this: you did not lose those nights, you survived them. Every tear you shed carried pain out of you. Every morning you woke up proved your strength. Every step forward, no matter how small, mattered. You are not behind. You are not weak. You are not broken beyond repair. You are stronger than the nights you cried yourself to sleep. One day, you will look back, not with anger, but with compassion. You will thank the version of yourself who stayed when leaving would have been easier. You will realize that the nights that hurt you also prepared you.
They taught you empathy. They taught you patience. They taught you how to hold others gently because you know what pain feels like. And most importantly, they taught you that even in your weakest moments, there was a strength inside you that refused to disappear. So tonight, if the weight feels heavy again, breathe. If tears come, let them. If hope feels distant, trust that it is quietly walking toward you. You don't have to be fearless. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to stay. Because the truth is simple and powerful.
The mornings did not suddenly become easier after Ion accepted his pain, but they became more honest. He stopped pretending that healing meant happiness every day. Some days were light, some were heavy, and some felt like walking through fog without knowing where the road ended. But now, he no longer blamed himself for the darkness. He understood something most people never learn. Strength is not the absence of pain, it is the ability to live with it without letting it destroy you. There were still nights when memories returned uninvited. Memories of words that cut deeper than knives. Memories of promises that dissolved without explanation. Memories of moments when he needed someone and no one came. Those memories knocked loudly at his heart, especially when the world grew quiet. But Ion no longer ran from them. He listened. He let them speak, and slowly their voices softened. One night, as rain tapped against the window, Ion realized something that changed him forever. He had been waiting for someone to save him, waiting for an apology, waiting for validation, waiting for life to finally be fair. But that night, sitting alone in the dim light, he understood a hard truth. No one was coming. And strangely, that realization didn't break him. It freed him. Because if no one was coming, that meant he had already been saving himself all along. Every night he survived was proof. Every tear he wiped away was proof. Every time he stood up after feeling shattered was proof. People often underestimate silent fighters. They don't see the war inside the calm face. They don't hear the screams hidden behind polite laughter. They don't know how much courage it takes to look normal while carrying storms inside your chest. Ion was one of those fighters. He had learned to function while hurting, to love while broken, to hope while exhausted. And even though he wished life had been kinder, he could no longer deny the strength that pain had carved into him. Pain had not destroyed him. Pain had trained him. With time, Ion began to rebuild. Not his past, but himself. He started small, very small. He allowed himself to dream again, even if the dream scared him. He allowed himself to say no, even when guilt followed. He allowed himself to rest, even when his mind called it laziness. Each small act of self-respect felt like rebellion against the version of him that believed he deserved suffering. Some days he failed. He fell back into old habits of self-doubt and overthinking. But now, failure didn't feel final. It felt human. And that made all the difference. There is a quiet moment that comes during healing. A moment when you realize you are no longer desperate to be understood by everyone. Ion reached that moment slowly. He stopped explaining his pain to people who didn't listen. He stopped shrinking himself to make others comfortable. He stopped begging life to be gentle and became gentle with himself instead. For the first time, peace did not come from outside approval. It came from within acceptance. And that peace, though fragile, was real. One evening, Ion met someone who asked him a simple question. What made you this strong? He paused. How do you explain nights of silent crying? How do you explain holding yourself together with trembling hands? How do you explain surviving moments you never thought you would? So he answered softly, I didn't have a choice. But inside he knew the truth. He had many chances to give up, many reasons to disappear emotionally, many moments where quitting would have been easier. He stayed anyway. If you are reading this carrying your own invisible wounds, know this. The nights you cried did not mean you were weak. They meant you were processing pain instead of pretending it didn't exist. They meant you cared deeply in a world that often hurts those who do. And caring deeply is not a curse, it is a dangerous kind of strength. Yes, it makes you vulnerable. Yes, it makes you feel more. But it also makes you human in the most powerful way. Ion learned that healing does not erase scars. It teaches you how to live with them. Some scars ache when the weather changes. Some memories still sting without warning. Some nights still require extra courage. But those scars no longer define him. They remind him. They remind him of how far he has come. They remind him of battles won quietly. They remind him that even when he felt alone, he never truly abandoned himself. One day, without realizing when it happened, Ion stopped crying himself to sleep. Not because life became perfect, but because he became stronger. Stronger at setting boundaries. Stronger at forgiving himself. Stronger at believing that his existence had value, even without achievements or approval. He still felt pain, but pain no longer controlled him. And that was victory. So if tonight finds you heavy-hearted again, remember this story. Remember that strength is not loud. Remember that survival counts. Remember that staying alive emotionally is a brave act. You are not weak because you cried. You are not broken because you hurt. You are not failing because healing takes time. You are becoming. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, you will realize that the nights that nearly destroyed you also built a version of you that cannot be easily shaken.